Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Life's Alright podcast. My name is JJ. Today I have a guest with me that I met over a year ago. He's a young man and he came across to me as someone who's very talented and very passionate about what he loves, and that is this topic about climate change and repairing things, sustainability. If you think about it, when was the last time you threw away a laptop because it's spoiled, or it's getting old? When was the last time you upgraded your smartphone because you needed that new iPhone camera, you needed that new sleek looking design? Probably not too long ago, quite recently. And when was the last time you might have looked up at the sky, or you experienced a certain weather in Singapore or overseas, and you felt like, climate change is real, huh? The earth is getting sick. These are two areas that we're going to discuss today. And we're going to have a very good conversation because he's this person who I feel walks the talks in terms of advocating sustainability. And so welcome, Benedict.
Thank you, JJ.
Sorry we had some technical issues earlier,
No problem.
but now let me just make sure. Okay, should be okay now. Benedict, we met at a new volunteer tea session
Yes, we did.
a little over a year ago already, right? What have you been up to the last year?
Well, after completing my national service in 2019, I enrolled into Nanyang Technological University, pursuing a degree in computer engineering.
When I first met you, have you already started uni?
I do not think so.
Not yet,
Not
right?
yet.
I think, and I think that's why you had some lull time whereby you were looking at volunteering at the grassroots, right?
Yes,
Sorry, what's the course again?
computer engineering. I took a diploma in computer engineering back in Singapore Polytechnic, and now I'm pursuing for a degree in the same subject in NTU.
How has school been?
Well, it has been quite challenging. I'd say university has brought its stress along, and don't worry, I've been relatively coping with it. well.
Okay. So, when do you graduate?
I should be graduating in 2023.
When I first met you a year and a half ago, despite the short time that we had a conversation, right?
Yes.
I was immediately struck by your passion and your talent, really, in doing things. Partly also because I've never been a hands-on person. I'm not good with my hands. My mom always say that my hands are like my legs. I'm not good at repairing things and all. So in our society, right, where consumerism is pretty much the norm, you spoke about repairing things, repairing laptops, and how you build things, and you're passionate about sustainability. Can you tell me a little bit more about how it started, this building things and repairing things?
Alright, so when I was young, my family was financially challenged, and this meant that we could not always afford things that we wanted to get. For example, when I wanted to get a table to do my homework on, we were not able to buy one. And so normally you would think, even today, if I cannot get something, how can I possibly get it? I can save up for it, or I can make it myself. But as you know, right, some things you can't exactly make yourself. Like for example, you can't make a tabletop out of wood from a tree that you chop down on your
And
own.
you can build a car yourself as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to get the materials from somewhere, and if you can't buy the materials, so where do you get it from? And back then when I was very young, I think still in kindergarten actually, my father proposed to me about going to look for tables that people had thrown away in the bin, such as in the bulky refuse trash area every neighborhood has. So we went and we found two tables,
Yep.
one with intact top and broken legs, and another with a broken top and intact legs. And so my father taught me, okay, let's take the intact top, the intact legs, and then join it together into one table on its own. And though it looks a little funny, I've been using it ever since, even till today.
And that
it's-
left a very deep impression on you, right? The incident.
Yes,
How old were you then?
I think I was 5 or 6 years old.
And you've been using that table since 5 or 6 years old until today. What does your father do?
He used to be an engineer in Singapore Technologies, but now he's a warehouse manager.
Okay, are you the only child? Do you have siblings?
I have a younger sister, just a year younger than me.
What's she doing?
She's studying journalism. So she has an interest in humanities, and I have an interest in engineering. So
Okay.
it's like a bit on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
So she's going to be an aspiring journalist in
I
future?
believe so.
NTU as well?
Yes.
I actually tried to get into NTU mass comm course. I think that's where she's studying journalism probably. I didn't manage to get it. I was actually aspiring journalist before I went totally out of that route. So your growing up years, you spoke about being more financially challenged, right? Other than being more financially challenged, when did you realize that you are actually good at building things and repairing things?
Okay, so aside from the building a table, which I just told you about, my father also taught me how to build and fix a lot of other things. Even the cupboard that I keep my things in,
Yep.
plumbing, electrical, and appliances as well. And so this caught on and eventually steered into the area of electronics and technology, especially when I got into secondary school and wanted to get a computer, and I know we cannot afford a computer, so I went to salvage and repair one. So from the very beginning, such as when I learned how to build my own extension cord, things didn't always go as planned. So sparks flew, literally, and I'm pretty sure that most parents would not have let their children continue this route if they saw something like that. But I'm very thankful that my father is actually very understanding.
Okay.
He very carefully under his supervision, even though he doesn't really know much himself, he guided me, and slowly I kind of went off doing this on my own, learning as I went along. And when I was in secondary school, I had successfully built my first desktop from discarded parts, and it did the job of helping me to look for things online.
Oh, okay. So you built a working computer from 100% from salvage parts.
Yes.
When do you first start building your first thing?
I think the computer one was the first big thing. Apart from that, everything else was more of a learning experience. So I would find an appliance, and then I would bring it home, just disassemble it, and then maybe I wouldn't know how to put it back because I was still figuring out how things work.
Have your family members ever strongly objected to what you were trying to do because they were afraid that you were going to burn down the house?
Definitely. I mean, yes, that is one valid concern. But another one was that because I actually don't have my own bedroom at home.
Okay.
So imagine if you fix like a microwave,
Yep.
a fridge.
Yep.
Where are you going to put that? You can't put it in the living room. So things like that kind of... although I couldn't keep it, but the experience of being able to fix it, or at least figure out, okay, this is how it works, that helped to teach me and let me build on the knowledge and experience.
So am I right to say that actually a lot of the household items that we are very comfortable to throw away because they've broken down are actually quite fixable?
Yes. Okay, so let's talk in terms of furniture, right? Oftentimes it can be like a broken leg or a broken support, but these are easily repairable with planks of wood, supports, glue, nails.
What about electronics?
Take for example your standing fan, right?
Yep.
A lot of standing fans, after many years, their oil tends to run out, the lubrication, and they tend to rust, which cause the fans to get very squeaky and don't
Noisy
spin.
as well.
So if you know how to service it, it's just a bit of disassembly. You can derust it, add some new oil, and it will be able to run smoothly again. And in this way, right, you don't have to go and buy another one. You can just reuse.
It's like how we service our aircons.
And it's also like back in your parents' or grandparents' day, right, when they couldn't really afford even simple things like furniture, and they often had to repair them. Then you can try asking your grandparents yourself.
So you can fix anything.
Well, I don't say I can fix anything. It's more towards
Okay,
the
I mean,
areas of,
let's talk about a common household in Singapore. We have like aircon, we have a fridge, we have fans. Have you tried your hands on all of them?
I have tried on aircon, washing machine, fan, microwave, oven, fridge, a little bit.
TV?
Not really TV, because the circuitry was very complicated for me
Okay.
back then. So I won't say I'm an expert, not so much in appliances, more in computers area, because that's where a lot of people focus on today. The thing about computers is that it's something that's very, very important because there's a lot of information. People tell me, their school projects, their work projects are inside, and if something goes wrong, they need to get it fixed ASAP.
Of course, we need to retrieve that data.
and also have something working to work with in the first place.
Do your friends come to you with spoiled laptops?
Quite often, I would say.
And you
I
oblige them?
as much as I can.
And you have a good success rate at fixing?
Generally about 50%. There are some problems that is also out of my scope of knowledge to repair. So it's also for this reason that I volunteered with an organization, a non-profit organization called SG Bono, whose aim is to provide IT services to low-income families, such as during the circuit breaker period last year when a lot of students had to do home-based learning. So we collect donated laptops from the public and from corporate organizations, refurbish them, and then distribute it to these needy students.
We will come back a bit to SG Bono later, but what is the biggest or proudest item that you have ever repaired and revived?
Okay, it's called an electricity noise filter, but you can think of it as a device that stabilizes the electricity supply. Now, in Singapore, it's a bit of a white elephant, mainland Singapore, because our electricity supply is already very stable. This problem, the solution to this problem was inspired after I made a trip to St. John's Island with my CCA back in Singapore Polytechnic for a freshman orientation camp. So it was observed that there were a lot of electrical surges, and you could see this from the street lamps that would flicker simultaneously. These surges actually caused damage to some of our equipment and our phones that were charging. After this incident, I went back to the mainland. I used the electricity noise filter from an air conditioner and built it into a stand-alone module. So it's something that you can carry around in a bag, bring it to wherever you need to, such as places that use generators where the power is not so stable, and then it will filter the electricity supply to protect your sensitive electronics afterwards.
So do you put it to work at St. John's Island?
Yes, I did. And it was successful in that nothing was damaged. Although you could say that maybe the generators were fixed or something, but the thing about not having the scientific instruments to measure all that is the conclusion can be very grey.
Actually, I feel that you are quite an inventor as well.
Okay. A lot of the things I make are actually things that already exist, and there are even better versions of it. But what I do is, for instance, if you see my Instagram, you will see that I have tried to construct my own air conditioner. So as you know, installing an air conditioner in your home is pretty expensive. So I took a refrigeration appliance that someone had discarded, pulled out the heat pump system, and then
refrigerator heat pump system, okay.
And then built around it with some cardboard and put some fans so that it will be able to pump heat out of the room, cooling the room by a little bit. So it's things like this. I wouldn't say it's an invention because there are better aircons out there, but I would say that it's a way of being creative in taking whatever you have and making the most of it.
I saw the post whereby you sort of invented this attachment to the laptop whereby you can stand and use it more comfortably.
Okay, this is possible because that particular model comes with a docking station. And so attaching a strap to the docking station means you can sling it around you like a bag. And for the part that allows you to hold it up 90 degrees on your lap so you can stand and work on the bus or train, is actually a series of mounting attachments that are supposed to lock in place. However, one thing I realized was that they couldn't take much strain, especially if you rest your palms on the laptop, which eventually led to it giving way. And I would need to think up a better design that's able to handle the weight better.
Do you have a dream invention that you would like to invent?
Well, not at the moment. Most of my inventions are actually inspired by problems that I come across in daily life or from what people tell me. And I try to see, is there any way that we can solve it without too much of a cost?
What do you think is the greatest invention?
Well, I would say the greatest invention is really the semi-conductor.
Okay.
Because that led to technology as it is. I mean, there are also other inventions like the electric generator, the induction motor, which are also play an equally important role in our society. It is the semiconductor that allowed us to advance from the moon landings all the way to the latest supercomputers that we have now.
Of course, we have all heard about the term semiconductors. In the news, it happens and I also know that Singapore used to be one of the biggest manufacturer of semiconductors, right? Can you just share with me very, very briefly what a semiconductor is and how does it work?
Okay, semiconductor is called semi because it only partially conducts electricity, and actually in its pure form, right, a semiconductor would not make a very good starting material for a microchip, as some of you might know it, or microcontroller. What they do is that they dope it with other impurities to either make it positive or negatively charged. Then the positive and negatively charged portions of the silicon, the most common semiconductor, will then interact with each other to form circuits.
So there is a semiconductor in every gadget.
Yes.
Is it how it works? Is that?
Yes, there is.
So it's like the brain of the gadget, the semiconductor.
You could say it that way.
Interesting. Talking about all this electronics and you repairing things brings us to the topic on our environment, sustainability, and also on climate change as well. I initially thought that I would call this the topic of our generation. But subsequently, I realized that instead of saying it's the topic of our generation, I should probably call it the issue of our generation. Because people are always only interested in interesting topics. People are interested in the latest iPhone, people are interested in the latest Blackpink concert. We talk about sustainability and climate change, environment, yes, but it's more an issue today because it's going to affect how our future generation live their lives. What are your views on, environment, sustainability, and climate change?
Well, ultimately, I feel that it is an individual's effort because, as we can see, a lot of government organizations, etc., are doing a lot of efforts to promote recycling, sustainability, and yet the recycling rate hasn't gone up that much in recent years. So, as you know, though our lives are very fast-paced, right, and sometimes people will be thinking, why do I need to walk how many 100 meters to find a recycling bin when I can just throw it in the general waste and get on with my work? Therefore, I say it's an individual effort because each person really needs to put in a bit of time, a bit of dedication to recycle, to gather, sort, drop off their recyclables at the recycling bin properly. And if everyone just did a little bit, we would see the recycling rate increase by a great extent, I believe.
The blue recycling bins that we have in the neighborhood, the state of it sometimes I think it's a shame,
Yes. Actually, to be honest, if we often see food and liquid waste getting thrown in, and the thing about this waste is that food or liquid waste can contaminate the contents of the bin. So while the contents may have originally been recyclable, if food or liquid waste go in, they will be contaminated and cannot be recycled. So the recycling company will just dispose of it as general waste. They will incinerate it.
I want to talk a little bit about your CCA in school. Is it a CCA in university?
Yes.
You call it CCA?
It's the NTU EarthLink Club, which is a kind of environmental club. So I'm from the resources portfolio of that club, which is focused on recycling efforts. And we conduct our biannual recycling drive, and we also collaborate with both internal and external organizations to conduct recycling events and initiatives. One such initiative is a collaboration with Megorium, who aims to use recyclable plastic waste and turn them into road paving material to be used in our parks for the park connector networks.
That's being invented now.
It's in the works.
It's in the works. Okay. Other than the resource department portfolio that you are doing, right? In this club, what are some of the other pillars that you all do? Like what are some of the other portfolios?
Some of them are focused on outreach efforts to raise awareness. Then others are focused on things like green trails, where we bring people to appreciate the beauty of nature and wildlife.
Okay. Amongst your peers, right? I mean, of course, when you are in the club, you all think similarly.
Yes.
That's why birds of same feather flock together, right? Among your peers who are not in the club, your some of the other classmates, do you think that there is consensus on habits and on your views on sustainability and recycling, etc.?
Well, everyone's view might differ, but from those whom I interacted with, I would say that it's quite low for those that are not in our club.
And how are you all trying to bring awareness to up that kind of, habits, good
We are
habits?
working with other clubs and societies in NTU to try to promote it in the form of various media, online posters, and we have even set up things like, for instance, a trash to treasure rack.
Okay.
So it is a rack in which people can exchange unwanted but good condition items for something that they want. So instead of throwing away something, you can go bring that something to the rack, leave it there, see something you want, you can take it. And in this way, things get reused instead of thrown.
You know, one of the most amazing things I saw on your Instagram was that you actually conducted a laptop repair workshop in school.
Yes.
And from the pictures that I saw, the response was actually pretty good.
This was part of a series of an initiative called Repair Hacks Workshop. So initially it was done with Repair Kopitiam, and subsequently we moved on to teaching students how to repair computers, because that was the most common issue faced by students when their computers stopped working. We got students who were interested from the School of EEE, School of Computer Science and Engineering, and we had about 30 participants where we taught them how to troubleshoot basic software and hardware problems so that they can help both themselves and those around them.
When computers break down, it's always
it's always
the biggest headache.
Indeed.
Number one, you're probably working on something when it broke down and you are worried about the file. And like for me, when I do like video editing and all, when something happens, I lose that file and it's a problem. What was the success rate during that that workshop that you all had repairing computers?
I would say about 3/4. Well, the thing is, we actually salvage computers, laptops particularly, from the e-waste bins to let participants practice, but they were also invited to bring their own spoiled laptops for us to try to repair. And I believe the success rate was about half, because those that were salvaged from the bins were able to be repaired, and then the other 1/4 was the participants' own laptops which they bought, which we were able to fix some of them. So about 3/4.
What do you think we can do more as a society in terms of our recycling habits?
Well, actually, as I said earlier, right, it's an individual effort. So everyone needs to, have that kind of mindset where we need to put aside a bit of time to sort our waste and then go and dispose it properly at the recycling bin. And it's also another thing that people need to be aware that they should not contaminate the bins with things that could spoil its content.
Like we mentioned, food waste and all. We see a bit some of all these electronic recycle bins or disposal bins, whereby you can dispose your electronic items. Where do all these items eventually go to?
So from my understanding, right, they are collected by e-waste recycling companies. Now, what the company does, I'm not exactly very sure. I know that maybe they might sell it as for its metal in bulk to other countries, or they may recycle and rebuild other electronic circuits from them. These bins are normally located in like malls, schools, or even
I saw one in Tan Tock
offices.
Seng as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Today, if I have a laptop that has broken down, my first instinct would be to throw it away after I wipe out all the data. Of course, we're also afraid of like data, being stolen by people and all. If I have a laptop that's broken down today and I like to dispose of it, how should I dispose it?
Well, actually, the thing about erasing data, right, is only possible if the laptop is still functioning to a basic degree. But if it is completely not working, I understand that people like to smash it up or something to make sure that it's completely gone. So, in my case, what I would suggest is something that maybe not really feasible for people, and that's to use encryption for data. So you wouldn't have to worry. But you should think of it in a way of not about whether it breaks down and you throw it and people steal the data, but what if your laptop was actually stolen from you?
Yep.
And then your data is compromised as well, or you will also lose your work as well. So okay, this one is may get a bit too technical for our viewers, so I probably shouldn't go too much into it.
What aspect of it?
Because encryption requires a lot of additional steps.
But there are some, like for example, I use a Mac, right? I can quite easily encrypt it using the built-in encryption software.
Most laptops in use today are Windows laptops. So encryption is not on by default.
Okay. if I do not want to dispose my laptop, or I'm just upgrading my laptop, and I would like to donate my laptop away, how can I do it?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I volunteered with this organization called SG Bono. However, unfortunately, due to some constraints, the primary one being the lack of a working place, we are not able to accept donations for the time being. What we do is, after collecting donated computers from the public, we refurbish them and then distribute it to low-income families for their students to use for home-based learning.
How do you identify all these needy families that require all these laptops?
Okay, so I don't want to reveal too much details from our organization, but it's based on the per capita income of the family.
No, as in, how do you look for them? How do they look for you?
We broadcast it on social media and our website for the most part.
And for recently, I would assume that because of the learn from home, many families are stuck without a laptop.
Yes.
Then you all managed to help a little bit more families during this period of time?
Yes, we did. However, unfortunately, I believe we had more requests than number of computers that we could distribute. So there are some outstanding ones we have not been able to fulfill.
Okay. We also saw the recent news that starting from next year onwards, I believe, MOE will distribute all these learning devices to students and to make sure that every student has a tablet or a laptop to work on. I think this is something that, from our background, right? Maybe having a little bit lesser, it's a blessing for all these students.
Indeed.
Other than SG Bono, right? I realized that you have this volunteering streak in you. To you, what is volunteering? What is volunteerism about?
Well, there's this saying in my religion as a Catholic, which is to serve and not be served. Because if you think about it, we're only here for so short a time, and we can't take anything with us, when we die.
Yep.
And so it's best spent helping those who currently do not have the means, especially if we have the means, even if it's just a little. Especially you may realize that when you visit your grandparents, sometimes they like to give you a lot of stuff. They might slip you a bit of money when you visit them. Because I think it also comes as a realization to them in old age that I can't take anything with me when I die, so I'm gonna give it to my children. And it's not just giving to within the family, but we will also like to give it to those in the community who need help.
This talking about grandfathers giving away money, right? I was very, because that was exactly what my grandfather did. He would give us money, but at the same time, I realized that he probably didn't realize that he would live so long. He's now 85, and he is now getting a lot more prudent because he's running out of resources. But of course, we chip in as well to give him allowances. I can relate to you when you talk about not having enough when you're younger, because that was what my family wasn't so well to do when I was younger as well. So I always remember that when I was in primary school, right, that was when the schools had computer labs. So instead of everyone having a laptop or a tablet to work on in the classroom, right, there will be computer lessons whereby we would all go into a computer lab and we would touch the computers and get hands-on experience with the computers. And when I was younger, right, because we didn't manage to have a computer at home, I was always very afraid of computer lab lessons. I was afraid that I would accidentally click on something that that's not meant to be, and I would damage the whole computer. And it was only after a bit later that I managed to put some money together, and I got my uncle to help me. My parents got my uncle to help me build a PC. Growing up, can I talk a bit more about your growing up years?
Sure.
When you don't have enough growing up, right? How has that affected you, or how has that influenced who you are today?
Well, firstly, it makes you more appreciative of the little that you have. You learn to be resourceful because as when you find things in the bin, right, you can't always find what you want.
Of
you will
course.
find bits and pieces that may not always go well together. But the thing is, it teaches you how to think and how to solve problems and how to come up with, things that maybe a bit different, but they still serve the purpose. And you might even find or come up with something very unique in that sense. So if you look at my Instagram page, right, one example is I recently built a cooler for those mascot suit performers.
Yes.
So because being inside those kind of suits, they tend to get really hot very easily, and heat injury is quite dangerous in Singapore's weather already. Having this kind of ventilator, which was built using a combination of electronic waste and some recycled materials, will help to keep them cool, to mitigate this potential for heat injury.
So very briefly, how does it work?
It sucks in air through a very small vent at the bottom,
Okay.
flushes the air through your body and head, and then it exits out through the material itself. Therefore, it ensures that fresh, cooler air always circulates in the inside.
Inside that mascot thingy.
Yes, I have not found other people trying something like this. It is a kind of novel, and it does need a bit of improvement. But as time goes on, we see how we can improve on it from there.
How has your father influenced you since young?
Well, he's been very supportive of what I've been doing. As I mentioned earlier, right, I know a lot of parents, when they see their children doing something that is a bit dangerous, they tend to stop them. And I know every parent looks out for their child's safety, but sometimes parents gotta look out for what their child might be interested in. I've seen a lot of boys, men from my NS days who had their interests like snuffed out because they didn't have a chance to explore and grow it. And so I understand that parents want the best for their children, but let them have the opportunity to discover, and do encourage them, even if what they want to pursue is not what you intended for them to pursue.
Actually, have you ever injured yourself before?
Oh yes, I have even been electrocuted before. It was not pleasant, definitely.
And it's very dangerous because
Yes.
very unfortunately, we recently saw the case in the news, right, whereby this elderly couple, unfortunately, in the bathroom.
Yes.
Most likely it was a case of electrocution. So what happened to you? Like your most serious injury while you were trying to build all these things?
Well, it was simply because I had accidentally touched something. My
Live.
arm had swing and touched something while I was trying to reach for a
Okay.
tool. And when I was young, I was pretty young at that time. I thought I could, just put everything aside, turn on the power, and then don't touch it. Then I turned, I didn't watch my arm, and then touched. It was a momentary contact. I wasn't unconscious or anything, so I'm actually very thankful for that. But the experience really teach you how dangerous electricity is.
One of my most hated feeling, right, is electrocution.
Have you felt the static shock before when you touch?
Last time when maybe when electronic items are not so safety marked, when you on the lights and your hands are wet and all, you will get that, that.
Or actually, for my case, some CD players metal casing, right?
Yeah.
Then when you turn it on and touch it, you get
yes.
that feeling.
I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling. It's a feeling that I don't like. And I'm prone to that feeling sometimes. Like, I don't know, static.
Yeah, it's static.
You get it.
Even for me.
What are your other hobbies?
Okay, life can be very stressful. So
It is.
I also do de-stress and let my imagination and creativity run a little bit by cosplaying, as you can also see from my Instagram page. So I noticed that let me give you this in an example. If you ask a 3-year-old to draw anything, and they will take the pencil and paper, scribble very enthusiastically, and then they will go around and show everyone their work. But if you ask someone like teenager, adult who's not an artist to do the same thing, I think the response you're more likely going to get is,
A very
I'm
muted
not
one, yeah.
good enough, like this. So what happened along the way? The creativity was kind of snuffed out. When we were young, everything was possible. And as we grew up, we learned, okay, we can't do this, it's not possible. And so constraints pushed creativity out of the way. And because creativity and imagination are also key aspects in coming up with solutions for problems, we cannot let go of it entirely, and I had to find a way to let it grow at the same time. So I thought, okay, this community, cosplayers, they like to express their creativity and imagination, and then I am a kind of guy who likes to solve problems that I come across in daily life. So why not combine the two and then use it, mash it up in a way that I can be able to build solutions, such as even the mascot cooling system that I talked about earlier.
What do you feel when you are cosplaying? Am I right to say that cosplaying, you have to play this persona that you are trying to cosplay as well?
Actually, I don't play any specific persona from any show. It's just my own character. It's just something that you thought out of your head.
And it's something that helps you to distress.
Yes.
So what is the character that, okay, not the character, but what is it that you are trying to achieve when you cosplay?
You can escape into a world of fantasy for a bit, and then there's a like-minded supportive community of people who will also join you in this, and they are very creative. They artists, video content creators, all these kind of things.
How long have you been cosplaying?
About 3 years since my NS time.
And you participate in
Actually,
some events?
Just 1 or 2 per year, like the Anime Festival Asia.
Interesting. When do you graduate?
Should be in 2023.
And what do you hope to do after you graduate?
Actually, I don't have a specific job in mind. So, since I'm the kind of person who likes to solve problems from what I see around me, I was hoping to join a company that would be tackling maybe a variety of issues, and then I could look into all of this and see how it can contribute to the development of solutions. Like, for example, clean energy.
Yep.
As you know, Singapore electricity consumption has been increasing a lot, and the government is also trying to install more solar panels to capture more solar power. So one thing that I've done at home is I've created my own solar charging station, which to date charges about 1 laptop's worth of energy per day.
Is it broken even?
I would say it probably won't break even for a while because I don't get direct sunlight.
Okay.
The panels work best in direct sunlight, and the thing
Okay,
is,
so you can only put it near your window and get indirect sunlight.
yes,
So it's meant to be
it's meant to be on
on the
roof.
rooftop. Okay.
It's because I stay in HDB.
Yeah.
And in terms of the amount of electricity saved per month, right, it would come up to about maybe 10 cents. And
Per month, 10 cents.
per month, 10 cents. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you take in the fact that the solar panel and the controller cost about $100,
Okay.
it,
It's very
you
difficult to
can
break
do the
even.
math. Yeah.
But however, though, how much can you save if, let's say, you get direct sunlight?
Well, currently, since I only have one panel, it may not be that much more, maybe 50 cents
A
to
month.
$1 a month, depending how sunny it is. Because when I say direct sunlight, it also depends on the sun not being covered by clouds.
Yep.
So if we had a dozen or maybe a whole rooftop, you could easily be saving like tens of dollars a month, potentially.
So is that the reason why solar adoption is still not very high in Singapore, even from the government level?
I'm not too sure of this, but what I know is that the price per solar panel is about $1 a watt. But when you consider that we consume a lot of power, it can be the capital to set up can be quite expensive. So it can take a while to get an ROI.
Because there's always been sort of like a intuitive thing, right, for us to be in Singapore, sunny nation, tropical country, to harness solar energy. And we also see Elon Musk having this company that's trying to do solar energy as well. But seems like it's still not advancing as much as we would like it to be, right?
Well, I'm not really sure what are the limitations at the moment, but I do hope to see that this resource for clean energy expands.
I actually think that it's good that you don't really have something in mind, a fixed thing in mind on what you want to do yet, because jobs are being created every day, and jobs are vanishing every day as well. So it's actually, you can leave your path open. But however, do you see yourself as a businessman?
I see myself more as an entrepreneur.
Because I would imagine that one day you might be able to monetize some of your ideas and some of your inventions, right? Is it something that appeals to you, being an entrepreneur and solving and creating solutions for people and setting up companies to solve people's problem?
The first is a yes. The second about setting up companies, right? This one I'm still a bit on the fence about it. I mean, some people tell me that it is better for you to try your own startup.
Yeah.
And some say maybe you should join an organization and contribute there.
Mm.
So
What's your inclination?
I do want to start a startup, but
Yep.
I worry about how to sustain the startup. Yeah. Because while I have a lot of ideas now, I do not think that my current ideas can
Be
make a lot
monetized effectively.
of money. Yes.
I think you one day will probably need to find a business partner who can complement your skill set.
True.
You know, because the thing about startup is people try to do everything. I mean, it's not that people try to do, but people have to do many of the things, many of the business functions by themselves initially. And I think that's the reason why startups very high chance of failure lah. What's your goal in life?
Well, it's best expressed through this phrase I once saw on someone's shirt as I was out and about, and it said, "A life lived for others is a life well lived." So for myself, I appreciate all the help that was given when I was younger and facing challenges. So in turn, I try to provide this same help to others who need it now.
So the pay it forward kind of mentality.
Yes.
You know, if you would excuse me asking you this, you know, being a bit of a geeky nature, right?
Yeah.
Have you, how do your friends take to your ideas, and have you ever been bullied in school?
Bullied, but not for these ideas. It was a bit in primary, secondary school. But as for how they take to my ideas, there are a few enthusiastic ones. Even my former lecturers who would, ask, how did you do this? But for the most part, most people are just thinking, okay, it's cool, but I don't really get it.
And
I understand. I mean, not everyone is technically inclined, and I should probably go and look for better ways to, broadcast.
No, I actually
work.
think that you are very talented, and that's why I got you in today. And the key message that I really want the audience to hear is that, number one, I think we can actually, let's say for me, my problem really is when something breaks down at home, I don't know where to go to repair the item. You know, it can be like a light. Sometimes it's like wiring gets spoiled. You know, I don't know where to go and repair the item. So, I wish I have a friend like you.
Actually, for these kind of skills, right, it can be plumbing, it can be, furniture repair. These are skills that your grandparents and even maybe your parents also had back in their day. And it's actually a very good skill to learn, because if you call an electrician or plumber, you have to pay quite a large sum, right? But if you learn how to fix like a leaking pipe yourself, then you save yourself a substantial amount of cost.
And even if you talk about like drivers on the road nowadays, right? I wouldn't imagine that many drivers actually know how to replace a punctured tire.
Oh, I mean, I don't own a car myself, so I don't know.
No, as in the point is, people are just not hands-on nowadays. Because it's always easier to go on Lazada, go on Shopee, go on Taobao, and order another one. And I also believe that it's sometimes also the quality of the product as well. I always feel that things today are not as well built as they used to be.
For myself, I can't really comment on whether it was intentionally or accidentally, because corporations want to earn money, most of them. They will try and make things with as little money as possible to earn as much profit. This may be a reason why the quality drops a little and things break down more easily. But then we must also remember that they constantly do want our business.
Benedict, I know that there are a lot of interesting things that you post on your Instagram. Can you tell the audience your Instagram handle so that people who are interested can follow you on Instagram and they can see your updates as you go along?
It's at Benedict.lee21. So BENEDICT underscore. Oh, sorry, not underscore. Dot LEE21. Also, right, I will go and fix a couple of posts because I know that Instagram crops the photo. When you try to upload multiple photos, some stuff gets cropped out.
Yes, some when you crop the first photo, all the other subsequent photos get cropped as well.
Or if you would like to see the full photos, my Facebook handle, is it
Yeah.
called?
Facebook account.
Benedict Lee 9250.
Is that a page or your personal account?
It's my personal account.
So people can add you and you will.
Actually, the posts are public, so
Oh,
you should be
okay.
able to see them directly.
Okay. Anything else to add, Benedict?
Well, not for now.
Not for now. Okay.
Perhaps in future, if things develop, then we can have another conversation.
I would love to have you back, especially I think after you finish school and you go out to work. I think I would love to keep in touch with you and find out what you are up to as time goes along.
Sure thing.
If not, I wish you all the best and thank you for coming down today to join us in this podcast.
Thank you, JJ.
Thank you. Okay, we had a good one.
Yes, we did.
45 minutes.